I look at when I've had a change. When I moved from one place to another, and from a place of fear to a place of being more loving and more joyful. When I look at what actually changed, the only thing that changed was my viewpoint. It was how I was seeing a particular situation, and when I change that, everything changes.
Absolutely. That's all we can change, and yet it changes everything.
It's amazing and that is so hidden from view and so hard to believe. I think that really plays with beginning to beginning to understand the importance of forgiveness and how we can actually get there. You just begin to see things differently. So that means also, Sheila, that our ego is God. So let's talk a little bit about ego, because we hear this all the time, about it. I think first of all, there's a confusion with the word itself. There's the false ego, the false pride and ego, but there's also the other ego, which is the self-esteem ego, and this this can cause people real conflict in understanding, what you're talking about when you're talking about ego. What does ego mean to you, and how have you dealt with your ego?
Well, my passion is to teach people to love their ego, and
Right,
that confuses people because, again, there's a understanding out there right now to some degree that we need to overcome our ego,
right,
and that isn't completely wrong. It's just taking it to another level of understanding, and we kind of touched on that when we talked about the selfishness, right?
right,
So
exactly.
to me, the ego is simply the primitive part of ourself, our human being, that kept us alive and surviving. It's our primitive survival instinct.
Right,
So it's so important to us, and it's done an amazing job. We would not be here as a human race if we didn't have those primitive instincts. We are not in a daily survival mode anymore.
right,
And so as a result, we are we are moving through a time when we can now explore new understanding and we can look at things differently. And so when we turn back and get upset with the ego and say, oh, we don't want you anymore, we're turning against the part of ourselves that actually got us here, that helped us to survive. And what we need to come to understand is that we are, as a human race, here to expand and to understand. And so we can now teach the ego, first of all, gratitude. We can be grateful to that part of ourselves that kept us alive. And then we can move into a place of teaching it and telling it, okay, we have new assignment now. We are not just trying to survive now. We're in a place where we are trying to understand new concepts. And so now come along with me. I appreciate your support, and I want to know when I feel threatened, but I also want us to have some new rules here, and we're going to do this in a new way. So I embrace the ego and bring it into me and kind of get it on board with the journey, because if we fight against anything, it's going to stop us, because what we resist persists. And
persist,
on top of
absolutely.
it, if it's God, we have to love it in order to remember we're one.
I spent many years in exactly that conflict you're talking about in the metaphysical world, trying to. I actually wanted to be able to get rid of my ego, to be able to just cut it out and be nothing but the calm, peaceful, wonderful, spiritual person. And I found that wasn't ever going to happen, and that what I really needed to do is exactly what you just said. I needed to be able to recognize it for what it's been and is, and be able to put my arm around it and say, okay, we're going to move forward, but we're going to do it differently. And one of the things that I find so really interesting about your work is that it comes from experience and not just opinions. And when you say that we need to change an old pattern, you don't just say, okay, here's what you need to do with an opinion. You have had your experience because you've done that yourself, and I think that's hugely important.
Absolutely. I think that I do. I agree that that is part of what makes the difference, and that I am so diligent about doing my work. And I guess in order to be able to serve more, I agreed to put a whole bunch of things in my life that may have been difficult, but I faced all of them. And again, I can turn back to all of those things now and feel complete gratitude because it is what made me who I am, and it's what allows me to help others.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that you talked about early in the show was this ability, and I think in the book Illusions, Richard Bach talked about it also about the ability to realize that everything that happens, good or bad, is a gift to help me to elevate and move forward in my spiritual growth. There's a saying that goes, somewhere under the horse manure there's a pony, and my job is to find it. And
Absolutely.
yeah, when I start doing that, everything changes. Everything changes. Sheila, I believe that my job, as far as changing myself and as far as my purpose and what I must do, is to find myself and do everything it takes to bring me to a place of joy in my life 24/7. And that early on, I think this may be part of why we search for that peak experience in drugs and alcohol. What we're really trying to do is find our way to that place of joy, because when I'm doing all the things that are right for me and for you, I experience joy.
Exactly. And I think you're right about that with the drugs and the alcohol. We so often want to um, reach that, but it's a false thing. It won't get us where we
Yeah.
really want to go, and so it ends up becoming painful at the same time. But when we truly connect to the source, then we can feel that joy in all of our life, and that is our greatest gift that we can give to the world, to truly live in joy.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. When I look at this, all the strife and the wars and all the stuff that's going on, a lot of that conflict is about what you have that I want that I don't have, and so we're gonna fight over it. Where if we have that inner life that's taken care of, for me, it's like the material things still mean something, but they don't have nearly the meaning that they once did. You talk about unconditional love in a primary relationship. And I think that's a wonderful concept. I can't say that I've had that experience. I would like to have that experience. Do you think it's really possible?
I absolutely do. And again, I've lived it in more than one way that unfolds. And again, in order to do that, love has to be our greatest passion. We need to be willing to love beyond our ego, primitive need to feel safe. Our
Right.
desire has to truly be to love the person, not to just hide with the person, but to let that love flow. And so often, especially in, you called it a primary relationship, a romantic
Right.
relationship, whatever we're calling that, that is in some ways it's our closest way to return to God, because we can feel the one. We come so close to feeling oneness in that space, especially when we add the creation energy, the sexual energy to it, and the passion. That really truly is the closest expression of God. And we as a human race are so terrified of it that we put so many rules around it to pretend that it's safe, so we can get very similar to what you said about the drugs. It's like, let's pretend we're getting this experience without having to do the work to get it, without having to take the risks of what it takes to really live it. But when we let go of the falsity of it and we truly decide to love somebody, whatever relationship it is, whether it's our child, our friend, our lover, when we truly decide to love them as they are and let them be who they are and love ourselves and let that form take whatever flow it needs to over time, then we are learning to love unconditionally. And sometimes loving someone unconditionally does mean giving them space or
Absolutely.
changing
Can
form.
actually even mean giving them up. Am I right?
Changing the form of the relationship, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Sometimes it does mean that.
So tell me. Let's talk a bit about here, which almost everybody that I know is interested in.